Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to give everybody a few more minutes. I know people are coming in from across the country, different time zones. Some may be in lunch, some may be in clinic. So we'll give a couple more minutes before we get started. Wanted to thank everybody that did register and has already joined for taking some time out of your busy schedule to join Evan and I today. We're excited about the topic. I'll give you a really quick tour around the room. We've got a chat function that you should see. We will open the floor to some Q&A at the end, and we do have people moderating the chat. So feel free to drop questions as we go over different topics today, and we will kind of earmark those and address those questions at the end as best we can. And I think that's probably it. The big stuff. Give it a few more minutes. We'll wait till maybe 2:33 before we get started. And there will be, if you do have to jump, say at the top of the hour or something, there will be a 7-day recording of this as well. All right, got more people joining. Again, thank you for joining us today. Taking a couple minutes out of your busy schedule. We'll get started here in just a minute or two. Wanted to give everybody a few more minutes to join. If you are just joining, there's a chat. We will be moderating that chat. So as we go through, if there is a question that comes up that you'd like maybe a little bit more clarity on, Evan and I will be doing a little bit of a live Q&A at the end. All right, Evan, what do you say? You want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, ready to go.
All right. Well, again, I know you've heard it for the third time, but thank you everybody for joining us today. I'm really excited about the topic. This is a topic that Evan and I literally live and breathe every single day with our two companies, and they more so every single year are joining forces together, and that is traditional, which most people are familiar with, versus reputation SEO. Which is something that I think Rate is not only best in class at, but really is kind of coined as how we grow reputation, visibility through Google Business Profile. So kind of as we get started here, Evan, why don't you introduce yourself and Rate, and then I'll do the same for our agency.
Yeah, I founded Rate in 2015, so we're 8 years old. Sounds young for a human, but it's a good age for a company.
Yes, absolutely.
We focus on healthcare reputation management. So sorry, those folks in the automotive, plumbing, or coffee shop business, we don't know much about that, but we know everything about healthcare reputation management. And what we do is we interface with your EMR and your PM system and automatically send surveys and review requests out to patients, and then have an intelligent AI algorithm that will actually route patients to the review site that needs the review the most at the particular moment the patient's ready to leave a review, thus increasing your reputation SEO. And we'll get into the details on how that magic happens. But that's a little bit of an overview of Rate.
Excellent. My name is Justin Knott. I am the CEO and one of the founders of Intrepy Healthcare Marketing. We are a full-service digital marketing agency that exclusively focuses on working with private medical practices. We spend a lot of time in the surgical space, and our primary focuses are on patient retention and patient acquisition. And we have been fortunate enough to work a lot with Rate over the years. They are one of our go-to referrals when somebody is in need of reputation stuff. And so I'm really excited about the topic that we have at hand today. All right, so jumping kind of right in, why is online reputation important? Most people have heard it, but Evan, walk through some of these statistics because they've probably seen them, but these have even grown as they're getting closer and closer to 100% across the board. But walk through some of the why reputation is so critical in healthcare.
Yeah, so these stats come from Healthgrades. We'll reference the source of all the statistics. And I like to say, you look at these percentages, 90% of patients evaluate physicians with online reviews. 80% trust reviews as much as a recommendation from a friend or a family member, and 77% of patients use online reviews as the first step of researching and finding a new doctor. So healthcare grades is in the review business. Even if you cut these numbers in a half or a third, it's still a lot, right? Like if 90% was 40 or 50%, that's half the patients are looking online at least, and it's much higher. I do it myself. My wife does it. My friends do it. We have a relative in Scranton, Pennsylvania, where no doctors are doing anything, and this is an elderly person, and they need a doctor, and we don't even know who to use, right? Like if it was just one doctor in the market that had good reviews, that doctor would get all their business. So patients are using these reviews, more and more they're using it, and I think Google especially has pervaded the internet, the search of businesses near you. So every time you look for some sort of doctor near me, or look for a name of a doctor, you see it right on your mobile, right on the first page is the Google profile. You see it right on the browser on the top right. It's almost like an online billboard. You really can't miss Google reviews when searching online. So it's just taken on a lot of importance over the years, and that's what we're mostly going to focus on today is Google and their algorithms.
Yeah, so define, I use that term at the start, this concept of reputation SEO, especially as you just mentioned, it's becoming really the primary focus when it comes to like local search experience. As you said, it's the billboard that you see when you're looking for a provider, and the reputation and its influence over that.
Right. So, we're all used to regular standard SEO. Justin, you're an expert at that. Putting tags and keywords and content in your website, giving your website more authority, and that helps have your website and your pages come up high in search. But you also want your Google listings coming up high in search, especially the local searches or category searches. Patient says best knee replacement surgeon near me. You got to show up there, right? You don't want your competitors
Must.
showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you use online reviews and online reputation to maximize the chance that Google's algorithms are going to promote your practice when these searches occur over your competitors?
Absolutely. And then this is where I think really the rubber meets the road is the combination of the two, which is I think why this topic is so interesting. Is there's usually presentations done kind of on this is how you rank for the top of a keyword for your website, or this is how you increase your visibility on Google business profiles. But it's so much more than that when you move past how do these things, how do they marry together and work together? And this I think is really powerful in terms of contextual keywords inside of reviews. And this has become even more prominent, where before there was kind of a blend between this screenshot that you see here on the right and those bolded or highlighted keywords inside of reviews. But there was also another subset of like their website mentions, which is really all but gone. And that doesn't diminish the importance of content, which is one of the things we'll talk about today. But you can see here, you do a search for anything. If you're looking for a specific condition or treatment near you, if you're looking for a specialist near you, you're going to see all of this pulled out automatically by Google. And that's
so this was actually a search. You could do it on your own computer
at
your office. Just that you type in best dermatologist near Edison, New Jersey. So this is exactly what came up on our screens.
Yep, and this will be time and again. I was doing it while we were prepping for this too, looking for all different types of treatments and specialists. And that is everyone that was ranking in that top 3 in that local pack, they call it, on desktop, and which is shrinking on mobile too. To I think 2, you would even know better than me, Evan. It's critically important that not only do you have a lot of reviews, but the content inside of those reviews is really going to lead the way in you ranking for specific treatment and conditions.
So we just go back to something, a salient point. So this search was not dermatologist near me, that would work, but search for best dermatologist near me. So what did Google show in their results? First,
Mhm.
they already filtered 4.0 star rating. See on the top there, the 4.0 plus rating, there's a filter. So if you have a listing or a doctor that's 3.9 or below, you're not going to show up, 0% chance. Also, like Justin mentioned, Google is scraping or crawling through the comments that the patients leave. And look how they matched this doctor, Metropolitan Dermatology. They have 85 reviews, and someone wrote "Great doctor." Or the one below, they have 339 reviews, and someone said they're the best dermatologist. And the wonderful doctor is Dr. Paul. So you could see how Google's taking your best, crawling through the comments and trying to match what you're looking for with the comments, right? So that's why it's so important to get a lot of content, a lot of patient comments. So when a patient says is searching for best knee replacement doctor near me, Google's actually going to promote the listings where patients are typing in, "Oh, I went to this doctor and had a great knee replacement." You have a much more higher probability of coming up here and promoting your listings and for your doctors in practice over your competitors. So that's just the importance of content and lots of reviews and lots of words that are input into these Google listings by patients.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just doing one right before, and I searched for like ACL repair near me, and that was just to your point. The first comment was a bolded, "I had an ACL repair here a few years ago," and they were ranking number one because of it. And it didn't even have to have more reviews than the other. It's just that important, the context and the content inside of those reviews.
Mhm.
Another really big piece of this too, and they go hand in hand, and I'll talk about this a lot on the traditional SEO side of things, is as your reputation grows, your click through rates and your conversion rates are going to increase and improve. And that means better outcomes for all of the visibility that you're working to grow, whether it's your website SEO, it's your reputation SEO that we're talking about, all of this stuff. The more your reputation grows, the better it is, the more likelihood that you're going to get somebody over to your website. And once they're there, the better the reputation, the more likely they are to take an action, like booking an appointment or requesting an appointment. And that's hugely, hugely critical in all of this, because none of it really matters is if you're not getting patients to take action. And the higher your reputation, the more action they are likely to take when they do find your Google business profile. And it also gives a lot of context, which is again just reaffirming what Evan was just talking about, to the content inside of those reviews is a huge ranking signal to Google business profiles to show you up for all of these different conditions and treatments that you offer. And then this is another big piece when it comes to traditional SEO, because when you have multiple locations, and Evan, you can expound on this even more, you want to have Google business profiles for each of those locations and each of the providers at that location typically. And this is hugely important when we're talking about creating a link between traditional and reputation SEO and your Google business profiles and your website. Is if you're a multi-location group that is listening here today, you need to have individual location pages for each of your primary main locations. That's really what's going to drive a near me search. And without getting too into the weeds, is you can't go to a treatment page and optimize it for 8 locations that you're in. It just is not natural, and you can't do it. But you can do that with location pages. And in this screenshot, which is actually a mutual client between Raider 8 and ours, orthopedic group out of the Chicagoland area, you can see we've integrated their Google business profile right on the location page. So not as only is that increasing visibility of all those reviews they're building by leveraging Raider 8, but it's creating a direct, what I refer to as a link between those two pieces. And that's really, really important to do, because Google is crawling and associating content on your website with your Google business profiles. And then the location page, obviously, it also allows you, as you see in that second bullet point, to focus everything on that geographical area. For this use case, say orthopedic clinic in Austin, which again, you can't do if you have a ton of different locations that are through a large geographical or regional area as you grow.
Yeah. Also, even more so that many of you have practice where doctors practice at multiple locations.
Mhm.
If a doctor sees 10% or more of patients at a location, you must create a Google listing for that for that doctor.
Absolutely.
Like in this case, in Austin, if the doctor also is seeing patients in a suburb, let's say Windsor Park, and a patient's sitting in Windsor Park, it says best orthopedic surgeon near me. If the doctor sees patients there but doesn't have a listing right there for that office, the doctor's never going to show up in that Google 3-pack. You'll get your competitors show up. So why wouldn't you have a listing? Also, if a patient has the doctor's name and they're in Windsor Park, so they're outside of Austin, and they type in the doctor's name, and the only listing that comes up is the Austin office, that patient's going to think, oh, I don't want to go all the way into Austin, deal with the traffic
Hmm.
and parking. Whereas if they saw right away, they just typed the doctor's name and the Windsor Park listing came up, patient's like, oh, great, the doctor's office is right near me. So lots of great reasons to have individual listings for doctors who practice at each location. I know it's a pain, getting listings verified and claimed is a pain, but it's well worth the benefit in terms of new patient acquisition over your competitors.
And I love that. I think you gave a really good rule of thumb with the 10% rule, because that's something common. Even the last webinar I did, that was one of the first questions we got is, do I need to create one for every physician at every location they operate out of? And it's kind of a yes, but there's obviously instances where it's no. And to your point is using that 10% rule of thumb. If they're there, then get it done. Because like you said, you could totally lose out on a misunderstanding of where they actually are practicing and they don't want to drive all the way across town.
Right. And if it costs you $150, $200 worth of labor to get the listing, and you get one patient a year from that, and the value of a
Great.
new patient is $1,000, like you've just quadrupled or 5x 6x your investment, and it's much more than that, right? The value of that one listing that costs you a couple $100 with some time and effort is going to provide benefits for years to come.
100%. I could not agree more. Tracking is obviously another really important piece of this, and being able to kind of watch those results as you grow your reputation, all the things we're talking about today. How is it impacting lead generation, appointment booking, all of that stuff? There's a few pretty simple hacks without getting, again, too far into the weeds on what EMR you're on, all those things. First and foremost, don't forget in terms of the other review sites, a lot of them have lost some of their prominence and their luster as they've been kind of pushed down SERP results. But it's still really critically important to make sure that you are managing those, spreading reviews around, which Evan, you can talk even more, because it's one of the beautiful things about your platform is you want to make sure you do have some balance on these other ones, because they do send ranking signals to Google and will actually help increase rankings of your Google business profile if you have all that NAP, name, address, phone number information uniform, and you have a solid reputation on those, because they do still come up very high in SERPs, especially for physician-based searches. A really simple is the use of UTMs. If you're not sure what UTMs are, you can just search like UTMs online. It's basically the additional stuff that you'll see at the end of a URL, and it's how you track things through like Google Analytics 4. And so what we do for clients is we just have a very simple template with some specific naming conventions. So we can add a UTM to every Google business profile that the practice has. And then we can really easily in the campaigns area of GA4, just see all of that traffic that's coming in. And again, just do comparative benchmarking analysis. Like, where were we before we started growing reputation or we started doing website SEO work, and where are we now? And be able to separate it out between what kind of the catch-all organic search term and what's happening specifically on your Google business profiles, which is really important to be able to tell the difference between. Another really easy one is call tracking. There's a ton of different call tracking platforms that are out there. We lean on CallRail for all of our clients, but if you get a static tracking number, then you can, Google has done a better job of allowing a larger window of time to be able to see the number of calls that you're getting in terms of interactions on your profiles, but it's not going to give you granular data like the phone number the person called from, the length of the call, all that information. So again, you can do benchmarking and watch the growth. And that's a really simple, very, very inexpensive way to get more visibility into the cause and effect of all the stuff that Evan and I are talking about today. You got anything else to add there, Evan?
No, covered it well.
All right, so now let's talk about the role of Google in reputation and search. And this is a really powerful case study actually of one of your clients, Evan. So I'd love you to kind of go through that cause and effect that I was just talking about of the visibility and all of the other interactions on Google Business Profiles as a result of the growth that they had in their reputation.
Right. So by dint of doing all of what we discussed, having the listings for each doctor office combination, getting a lot of reviews, a lot of content in each review for Google to digest. Um, when you do all that, you have a much higher probability of showing up in this 3-pack right on your screen. Our client here, you see a lot of stars and high ratings, and you see a correlation. It's very measurable. So once you start improving your reputation and you start appearing more, Google has these stats. They'll show you how many times patients see each listing, and then how many times they click on the actions, the phone number, the website, directions, and you see those go up in tandem. So the more you build your online reputation, or you build the reviews on a Google listing, the more they show up and the more patients click. So it's a very measurable cause and effect result that you see.
Absolutely. And again, just think about the impact. I mean, this, Evan, of generating that many more website clicks, direction requests, and calls. These are very qualified. I mean, it's what we hunt for from a marketing standpoint of running Google ads, doing SEO. And these are like the most qualified bottom of the funnel patients. If they're finding your Google business and they're calling you, they're looking to take some type of action in terms of learning more about the practice and booking an appointment.
Correct.
All right, and talk about a little bit more on the importance of these Google Business Profiles. Really driven this home, but I think there's a couple bullet points in here that are really, really key to how it all works.
Right. So Google is, we all know, Google's a verb in our vernacular now. We Google everything, and they have almost a 90% market share. It's the default search engine on, obviously Android, because that's owned by Google, and every iPhone. So they have just a tremendous market share. It makes it real easy for patients to find you, right? In Google, just go on your mobile, especially on mobile, just go on your mobile phone and type your business name or one of your doctors. You just see how easy Google makes it. Pulls up the doctor's profile, the nice big buttons that say website, directions, call. It's so easy. So I actually have contacts, in my iPhone. When I go to a business, I just go to Google and I type the business there. That's my contact directory.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do I don't even bother maintaining my contact list. Google maintains it for me. So, and when a patient searches for your doctor or your practice, do you want them to see 3.8 stars and 62 reviews? Like, no, right? Like, patients are thinking, maybe I'm not in the right place. Nobody likes this practice. So it's just so important. And Google has made it so easy for you to use them as your contact management software. Also, these local search results, when I search for best knee surgeon near me, or best dermatologist near me, or internal medicine doctor near me, I mean, obviously it's got to be relevant, right? If I'm searching for an internal medicine doctor, Google knows that, and they'll display internal medicine doctors. Distance is very important, right? Google knows where you're sitting within a mile or two, where your ISP is. So obviously, the closer you are, the more likely Google is to promote that listing. And I think something that Justin's going to talk about right now is prominence. So you think they're not related, but really your local searches is also tied into your website authority. So the more authority and the more respected, and again, Justin, you could speak about this, but the more respected your website is, the more chance that Google is going to promote the listings that belong to your practice.
Absolutely. And again, this is why the topic of the day, traditional versus reputation and how they blend together, that prominence, like Evan just talked about, it really is piggybacked on reputation, but there's also a critical element of this, which is the website side, which is kind of where we come in and focusing on content. And I kind of use this example here, but as Google crawls your website, it correlates it actually back to your Google business profile. So it's really important that not only you work to increase your domain authority, but you're expanding on the topics of focus on your website. And that's what I kind of mentioned in the second bullet point is you need to be constantly creating new conditions and treatments pages because your Google business profile will be correlated to that new page that's introduced. Like in this example, I have a carpal tunnel syndrome one. You're going to struggle more than likely without a page mentioning and talking about carpal tunnel syndrome to have your Google business profile regardless of reputation, come up in that search because Google will not be able to relate your Google business profile to the fact that you provide that condition or treatment on your website. And I've got 2 screenshots here, and this is straight out of the Google support pages on how they pull Google business profile information, such as crawled web content on the left, and then on the right, relating directly to prominence that we were talking about on the last page is links, articles, and directories. So all the other directories that we talked about earlier, but links and articles, which is directly referring to the content on your website, the links back to that, and the authority related to your website. So the more you grow that stuff, the more visibility you're going to be able to pull in for other conditions and treatments, and then thusly the more people you're going to be able to get to your website, calling, asking for directions, all of that type of stuff. But none of this really matters if you don't have your Google business profiles optimized. So Evan, walk us through kind of the 101s that matter the most when you're optimizing a Google business profile.
Yeah, it's painful to claim an existing listing. It's kind of like herding cats, but once you have control, if you wrested control of the listing, you want to upload a high quality, let's say it's your building, or especially for the doctors, you want to do the headshot photos. Sometimes it's a bit of a crapshoot, right? You pull up the listing and Google will take a picture of your exam room or something.
That's always fun.
But a way around that, or the best way to handle that, is to take the 14 megabyte professional headshot, high resolution, upload that, and then Google kind of sees that as a high resolution picture, and they're more likely to use that as the profile picture on the listing. You get 750 characters for a business description. It's just more keyword opportunities, especially if a doctor is a subspecialist. You want to mention the knee surgeries, let's say, or total joints, or the hand to shoulder, or the Mohs surgery if you're a dermatologist. You want to mention those things. Very important that, like Justin mentioned before, the name, address, phone number should be identical on the listing address. So that's the Google Maps address with the way you have it on your location page on the website. So even if you have, Boulevard spelled out on your website, but BLVT on your Google Maps, or you have SUITE, 101 on Google Maps, but you have STE or just a pound sign or hashtag 101 on your location page, it makes it harder for Google to make that neural connection between the listing and your location page. So you want to have that neural connection, and you want to make sure that the name, address, and phone numbers are identical. There's categories and subcategories. I love subcategories. Having family members who are vegetarian and vegan, I could type in vegan restaurant near me, which will pull up the vegetarian restaurants. But how does Google know that they also have vegan? It's because there are subcategories. So you could have, if it's an Italian restaurant that has vegetarian options, you want to be, I'm an Italian restaurant vegetarian. So if you're a doctor's office, a orthopedic surgeon who does hand surgery, you want to have both, both in there, both types of categories. I forget the exact number, but there's a whole host of subcategories that you could add. So you want to add as many as you can, just to make it easier for patients to match their searches with the 3-pack results. Obviously, you want accurate hours, and I can't stand when I search for, you see a Google listing and it doesn't have the website link. That drives me nuts. Oh, yeah. You want to make sure you have that website link. So those are the basics. And once you do all that, then Google, again, scores you higher. They like complete listings that have hours, and also an appointment link. It doesn't have to be online appointment scheduling. It could be a contact us page. It could be your phone number. But as long as you have that appointment link, Google is inventorying all these things, and businesses that complete their listings, again, score higher in their algorithms and have more of a chance of coming up in those search results. Plus, make it easier for patients, which we want to do.
I could not agree more. Yeah, the category thing is always the biggest red flag whenever you do an audit and it's, say, like an orthopedic surgeon and they're listed as doctor. It basically, like, I cannot stress enough, it absolutely cuts your legs out from under you. You will never be able to compete. Category is wrong. That is just an absolute must that cannot be ignored. But we see it time and again. All right. So walk us through the optimized versus not.
Yeah, this is an example. So there's that beautiful photo that came from the headshot on the right side. is just a street pic. Sometimes you actually get a dumpster in one of those pictures, you know, the side of a
I always
building with
love the
a
side street one. I was going to bring that up. Yeah, that's always a great
dumpster.
one with a provider.
You don't want that. You also see the website link. The one on the right doesn't have that website link. Um, Dr. Jacob R. Miller, MD, the doctor and the MD. That's not an NAP match, name, address, phone number match with the doctor's bio page on the website, right? The website probably has Jacob Miller, MD. So you want that to be exact. That's the N in NAP. Lots of reviews versus no reviews. So if I'm a patient, I feel totally confident with this
Mm-hmm.
doctor on the left. The one on the right, I don't have confidence. I might go see this doctor, but I don't have confidence because there's no social proof here. I just got a name from a friend or a primary care provider. I have a number of names. Why should I choose this doctor? Also, he's a surgeon. If this Dr. Miller is an orthopedic surgeon, it's showing as surgeon there just below the directions there versus ophthalmologist. The category is correct on the left side. Um, the one on the right isn't owned, the one on the left is, and then you could see there's add missing information on the bottom right where we have everything is complete with office hours and appointment links. So the left side is a clean, excellent, perfect listing. The one on the right, I mean, which one do you want to represent your doctors, right? I
100%.
picture this as a billboard on the side of the
Mm-hmm.
road, just as many eyes, right? Would you post the whole thing on the right on the side of the road on that big expensive billboard, or the one on the left? You're proud of the one on the left.
Could not agree more. And again, that category is just so critical. All right, Evan, talk us through the 4 R's. You hit on this a lot. We actually did a podcast really recently. If any of the attendees didn't hear it, but you talk about these 4 R's, and it's what we talked about today.
Right. So 4 R's. If you could take away anything from this presentation, it's all about reviews, ratings, recency, and responses. So again, Google's algorithms. You want a lot of reviews, high star rating. Recency, Google writes articles about this. If the last review was 6 months ago or 3 months ago, Google's not going to score that as high as a listing that's fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Patients are constantly putting reviews. So you want one review. We like to have one review a week is our goal, right? At least for all your listings. Very easy to do with the location listings because lots of doctors practice at one location. But we want to make sure the doctors and if they're at a satellite office, they're not high volume, maybe 20% of patient volume at that office. We want to make sure that we redirect patients so there's plenty of fresh, recent reviews and responses. Google says, to the extent the business responds to a review, that's great. Patient immediately gets an email and they feel good that you're engaging with them. So it's great for patient engagement. But also Google's algorithms, they're going to score you higher. Businesses that respond to reviews, Google likes that. It means you engage with your customers, you care about your customers, or in our case, patients. And they're going to score you higher. So those 4 R's are very important. And if you cover all 4 of them, you're going to come up in those 3 packs much more frequently than your competitors. We just talked about the profiles, make sure they're accurate. Again, all tied into the Google ecosystem is the Facebook page and any Twitter posts you put, and Instagram, and Google's scraping all that. So you want to be active on social media as well. And have a great website. That's, I agree. I mean, it totally has to be optimized for mobile. Most patients are, as we get older, we see the doctor more. When you're over 40, your eyes become presbyopic, farsighted. And I've seen so many websites where I can't even read it, right, without glasses. You don't want that. You want nice big fonts on mobile, easy to read, and make it easy to find the content on your website as well for patients that are searching.
For sure. And again, in 2018, I think it was, Google switched over to Google or mobile first indexing, and even the way that their page insight, which is their speed score, it all pulls mobile first. So that's really what you actually want to pay attention to first. And then again, we talked about this before, but this really all ties back to growing your practice and increasing patient volumes and treating more patients. And this reputation SEO and growing your reputation does that. And it has ramifications across everything else that we didn't even talk about today. But if you get over a 4.8, you are going to see more traffic to your website, more actions taken on your Google business profiles, better outcomes on the traffic that is on your website in terms of them taking action. And that also, we didn't, obviously ads wasn't a focus of today, but Google ads, we do a lot of it, and we 100% see a direct correlation to the work done on your reputation and the growth of that in your Google business profiles and improved outcomes on your ads. And local service ads, which are those kind of Google guaranteed ads you see up at the top with your reviews and everything, have recently been introduced to healthcare. There's like 8 or 9 subspecialties that can do it right now, and it's still kind of rolling out, and it's not across all of them. But again, that's really heavily relying on reviews and reputation as a focal point of positioning those ads. So I couldn't encourage you more, and you're going to see kind of nothing but upside by investing time and effort into growing your reputation.
One interesting point to make is that you see 4.8 stars. That sounds very high. And what's really interesting is like restaurants, it's rare to see a 4.8 star rated restaurant.
Yeah, good point.
Doctors, we just surpassed the 1 million reviews, online reviews added for our clients. And the average is 4.87, which is incredible. I don't know why that is. Maybe people just love their doctors, or maybe they don't want to complain about their doctors, like they do a restaurant, right? You know, it's like you don't want to really upset your doctor, but your restaurant that you don't like, that you're never going to go back to. It's, you know, anyway. So it's fairly easy. There's a very tight bell curve around the 4.87, so it's fairly very easy to attain a 4.8 stars or higher for your doctors and your office listings.
And I think a lot of that probably comes back to, and again, you know way better than I do, but kind of the active versus passive reputation approach is people don't have a problem that are upset, and everybody's always heard it. You're like 7 times more likely to leave a review when you're upset. But that statistic is very high for people that are happy too, but you got to make it convenient, and it's got to be there and ready at as close to a point of contact as possible to an interaction at your office. And so if you're passively growing your reputation, it's more than likely going to be more bad than good. And like the point you just proved is if you're proactively growing it, there's just as much happy out there that is willing to go out and leave reviews. All you got to do is ask.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then talk to us about showcasing. This really brings it all home on the website side of what we were talking about is making sure that people can see all these reviews.
Right. So it's all about social proof and trust marketing, right? We really talk about that topic per se, but bottled up in a patient's head is a wonderful comment about doctors. 4.87 stars is your average. So it's all bottled up in their head. They're all happy to say nice things. Just make it easy for them. But the trick is, what do you do once they post a comment? What do you do with that comment? So obviously, here's an example of one of our clients. We have an automated we call Rate Social that automatically takes testimonial grade comments and publishes it to their Facebook page. We also have a verified reviews page. You see on the bottom left, you search for this Dr. Rudbein, and he has 401 votes. It says 401 reviews, 4.9 stars. So that's a page that has all the hundreds of patients of reviews. So you showcase the patient's voice there. You go to a doctor's bio page on the right. You have a little badge that shows their star rating, 1,600 ratings and 4.9 stars, and then a testimonials widget. Why not showcase what patients say, select or curate the best of the best? So we curate the best of the best by we sentiment score every comment. So any comment that has a very high sentiment score that's over 100 characters. So it's not like great doc, that's 10 characters. It's something longer and more robust, and also has a 5-star rating associated with it. We promote that testimonial widget. So we showcase the great things patients are saying in these comments, because they have such a high sentiment score. They have all these superlatives laced in, throughout them, is to showcase them on the website. So there's lots of different places you could showcase the patient's voice, and of course on the rating site themselves, Google Health Grade Vitals, WebMD. So by just republishing and showcasing the voice all over the place, you're taking these great comments and creating trust with your prospective patients, and which leads to more booked appointments.
And we love using them in ads too. I mean, it's probably one of the most effective still graphics is just carousels of verified patient testimonials on whatever it is that you're promoting from an advertising standpoint. It's really, really huge there. Again, all coming back to social proof.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's pretty much it. I know we went a little bit over time, but we can open the floor to questions. If there are any questions out there, again, thank you everybody for coming today. There will be a live webinar or a webinar replay that will be sent shortly after, and will be available for a week too. So yeah, we'll hang it around for just a second from chat. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for coming, and I'm glad you found it informative. All right, another minute or two. Must have covered the topic pretty well, Evan. All right. So it looks like we don't have any questions. So, well, before we wrap up, Evan, thank you so much for coming on and joining and talking about your area of expertise. I really appreciate it. It looks like everybody there that's leaving comments said it was very informative. So thank you, Evan.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You guys have a great rest of your week.